In the dusty archives of the Basel Historical Society, beneath layers of medieval parchments and Renaissance treatises, a remarkable discovery has emerged that challenges our understanding of both historical documentation and unexplained phenomena. The manuscript, bound in cracked leather and written in elaborate Gothic script, bears the date 1552 and contains what may be one of the most detailed accounts of aerial anomalies ever recorded in medieval Europe. The document, penned by an unknown chronicler identified only by the initials HE, describes a series of extraordinary events that unfolded across the skies of Central Europe during the mid-16th century. What makes this account particularly compelling is not merely its age, but the meticulous detail with which the author recorded phenomena that modern readers might immediately recognize as descriptions of unidentified flying objects, coupled with references to dragons and the appearance of multiple suns in the sky. The chronicle opens with a dramatic scene set in the early morning hours of August 7th, 1566, in the Swiss city of Basel. According to the manuscript, citizens were awakened by what the author describes as a great commotion in the heavens, as if the very air itself had become a battlefield for celestial armies. The sky, normally serene in the pre-dawn hours, suddenly erupted with activity that would leave witnesses speechless and scholars puzzling over the account for centuries to come. The author writes with the careful precision of someone who understood the importance of accurate documentation. He describes how spheres of various sizes, some black as night, others gleaming like burnished copper, moved across the sky with purpose and intelligence. These objects, according to the chronicler, were not moving randomly, but appear to be engaged in some form of organized activity, perhaps even conflict. The larger spheres seemed to direct the movements of smaller ones, creating formations that defied explanation by any known natural phenomenon of the time. What sets this account apart from other historical records of unusual aerial phenomena is the chronicler's attention to detail regarding the object's behavior. He notes that the spheres moved against the wind and, without the flapping of wings, immediately distinguishing them from any known flying creatures. Moreover, he observes that they seem to respond to each other, accelerating and changing direction in coordinated patterns that suggested intelligence or control. The Basel incident was not an isolated event, according to the manuscript. The chronicler references similar occurrences in other parts of Europe, suggesting a pattern of activity that spanned several years and covered vast geographical areas. He mentions reports from travelers who had witnessed similar phenomena in the skies above Nuremberg, just 14 years prior to the Basel event. These earlier sightings, he notes, had been dismissed by church authorities as demons testing the faith of good Christians. But the Basel incident was witnessed by so many credible citizens that dismissal became impossible. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the chronicle is its description of what the author calls the great dragons of the upper air. These were not the typical dragons of medieval imagination, breathing fire and terrorizing villages, but aerial entities that seemed to interact with the mysterious spheres. The chronicler describes them as serpentine forms of immense length, moving through the sky like fish through water, their bodies catching and reflecting light in ways that hurt the eyes to observe directly. The dragons, according to the account, appeared to be in conflict with the spheres. The chronicler writes of witnessing aerial battles where these serpentine forms would attempt to encircle groups of spheres, only to have the spheres respond by forming tight formations and producing lights so brilliant they turn night into day. These battles, he claims, were accompanied by sounds unlike anything in earthly experience. Not quite thunder, not quite the roar of wind, but something that seemed to come from the very fabric of the sky itself. The document's most extraordinary claims, however, center around what the author terms the Day of Three Suns. According to the Chronicle, on August 27, 1566, exactly 20 days after the initial Basel sighting, the sun appeared to split into three distinct orbs, each casting its own light and shadow. The chronicler describes how the central sun appeared normal, while the two additional suns flanked it on either side, creating a phenomenon that lasted for several hours and was witnessed by thousands. During this three-sun event, the aerial activity reportedly intensified dramatically. The mysterious spheres and dragons appeared in unprecedented numbers, engaging in what the chronicler describes as the final battle for dominion of the sky. The author's description of this event reads like a mixture of careful observation and apocalyptic vision, as he attempts to document phenomena that clearly strained his ability to find adequate words. The chronicler notes that during the three-sun phenomenon, the very nature of light seemed to change. Shadows fell in three different directions, creating a web-like pattern across the landscape. Colors appeared more vivid, almost supernatural in their intensity. Plants and animals behaved strangely. Birds refused to fly, cattle lowed incessantly, and even domestic cats were observed staring fixedly at the sky for hours on end. What makes this account particularly remarkable is the chronicler's attempt to provide rational explanations for what he witnessed. Unlike many medieval accounts of unusual phenomena, which immediately attributed strange events to divine intervention or demonic activity, this author clearly struggled to understand what he was seeing in terms of natural philosophy. He references the works of Aristotle and Ptolemy, attempting to reconcile the ancient understanding of celestial mechanics with the unprecedented events unfolding before his eyes. The chronicler theorizes that the spheres might be wandering stars that have descended from their proper spheres, while the dragons could be great winds given form by celestial fires. His attempts at explanation reveal a mind grappling with phenomena that fell completely outside the accepted framework of 16th century natural philosophy. He even speculates that the events might be connected to recent discoveries of new lands across the ocean, wondering if the opening of new worlds might have disturbed the balance of the celestial realm. The manuscript includes detailed sketches that accompany the text, drawn with the same careful attention to detail that characterizes the written account. These illustrations show formations of circular and oval objects in various configurations, often accompanied by the serpentine forms the author describes as dragons. The artistic style is consistent with other 16th century technical illustrations, suggesting that the chronicler approached his documentation task with the same seriousness that contemporary scholars brought to their studies of anatomy or astronomy. One particularly detailed illustration depicts the three-sun phenomenon, showing not only the three solar orbs, but also the complex shadow patterns they created on the landscape below. The drawing includes careful notations about the time of day, the direction of each shadow, and the relative brightness of each sun. This level of precision suggests that the chronicler was making real-time observations rather than relying on memory or second-hand accounts. The chronicle also contains what appears to be a primitive attempt at measuring the speed and altitude of the observed objects. Using church spires and mountain peaks as reference points, the author estimated that the spheres moved faster than the swiftest arrow and flew higher than the eagle's dare venture. While these measurements lack the precision of modern scientific observation, they demonstrate an early attempt at systematic data collection regarding aerial phenomena. As the events described in the manuscript unfolded over several weeks, the chronicler notes changes in public behavior and official responses. Initially, he writes, church authorities attempted to frame the sightings as religious omens, calling for increased prayer and penance. However, as the phenomena continued and intensified, even religious leaders began to acknowledge that something beyond ordinary divine manifestation was occurring. The chronicler quotes a local bishop as saying, "These signs exceed our understanding and may represent matters of natural philosophy rather than divine will." The civil authorities' response was equally intriguing. Rather than dismissing the reports or attempting to suppress them, city officials in Basel apparently organized systematic observations, posting watchmen at various locations throughout the city to monitor and record aerial activity. The chronicler suggests that similar efforts were undertaken in other cities where the phenomena had been reported, indicating a coordinated attempt to understand and document these unprecedented events. The manuscript provides fascinating insights into how ordinary citizens reacted to these extraordinary occurrences. The chronicler describes how daily life was disrupted not by panic or hysteria, but by an almost collective sense of awe and anticipation. People gathered on rooftops and in open squares, watching the sky for hours at a time. Markets and workshops experienced reduced activity as citizens became more interested in celestial observation than earthly commerce. Some citizens, according to the account, claimed to receive communications from the aerial phenomena. The chronicler treats these claims with skepticism, but records them nonetheless, noting that several individuals reported hearing voices or receiving visions during periods of intense aerial activity. These accounts, while treated cautiously by the chronicler, add another layer of complexity to an already extraordinary narrative. The chronicle's description of the final events is particularly dramatic. According to the author, on September 15th, 1566, all aerial activity suddenly ceased. The mysterious spheres, the dragon-like forms, and even the multiple suns vanished as quickly as they had appeared. The chronicler writes that the silence following this cessation was more disturbing than the most violent of the celestial battles, as if the very air itself had been drained of some essential quality. In the aftermath of these events, the chronicler notes significant changes in the natural world. Weather patterns shifted dramatically, with unseasonably warm temperatures persisting well into what should have been the autumn months. Agricultural yields were reportedly affected, with some crops failing entirely, while others produced unprecedented harvests. Livestock behavior remained altered for months, and several species of birds were observed migrating in directions contrary to their normal patterns. The chronicler's final entries reveal his growing conviction that the events he witnessed represented something far more significant than isolated anomalies. He writes of consulting with scholars from other regions and discovering that similar phenomena had been reported across a wide geographical area, from England in the west to Poland in the east. This pattern suggested to him that whatever caused the Basel phenomena was operating on a scale far larger than initially imagined. Perhaps most intriguingly, the chronicle contains references to earlier historical accounts that the author believed might be related to the events he witnessed. He mentions consulting ancient texts that described similar aerial battles and multiple sun phenomena, suggesting that such events might be cyclical rather than unique. The chronicler speculates that these phenomena might recur at regular intervals, though he acknowledges that his research into historical patterns was limited by the availability of reliable records. The manuscript's final pages contain what appears to be the chronicler's attempt to develop a comprehensive theory to explain all the phenomena he observed. Drawing on classical texts, contemporary natural philosophy, and his own careful observations, he proposes that the Earth might exist within a complex system of what he terms celestial influences that occasionally become visible to earthbound observers. This theory, while framed in the language of 16th century scholarship, bears striking resemblances to modern concepts about Earth's position within larger cosmic systems. The chronicler's conclusion is both humble and profound. He acknowledges that the events he witnessed and documented exceeded his ability to fully understand or explain. However, he expresses confidence that future scholars, equipped with better instruments and expanded knowledge, might be able to solve the mysteries that baffled his generation. His final words express hope that his careful documentation might serve as a foundation for such future understanding. The discovery of this manuscript raises profound questions about the nature of historical documentation and the reliability of eyewitness accounts. The chronicler's obvious education, attention to detail, and attempts at rational analysis suggest that this is not simply a work of medieval fantasy or religious allegory. The specific dates, locations, and detailed observations indicate that the author was documenting events he believed to be real and significant. Modern analysis of the manuscript has revealed several interesting details about its composition and preservation. The ink and parchment have been dated to the mid-16th century, confirming the document's claimed age. The writing style and vocabulary are consistent with educated German-speaking regions of the Holy Roman Empire during this period. Most significantly, several of the specific details mentioned in the chronicle have been corroborated by references found in other historical documents from the same era, suggesting that the Basel phenomena were indeed widely witnessed and discussed. The chronicle's detailed descriptions of aerial phenomena bear striking resemblances to modern UFO reports, particularly in their emphasis on organized, intelligent movement patterns and formation flying. The spherical and oval shapes described by the chronicler match the most common configurations reported in contemporary UFO sightings. The dragon-like forms, with their serpentine movement patterns and apparent interaction with the spherical objects, present a more challenging interpretive problem, but may represent the chronicler's attempt to describe phenomena for which his culture provided no adequate vocabulary. The three-sun phenomenon described in the manuscript is perhaps the most verifiable aspect of the account. Similar multiple sun sightings, known today as sundogs or parhelia, are well-documented natural phenomena caused by ice crystals in the atmosphere. However, the chronicler's description of the three suns persisting for several hours and being accompanied by intense aerial activity goes beyond typical sundog occurrences, suggesting either an unusual atmospheric event or the combination of natural phenomena with something more mysterious. The manuscript's emphasis on the systematic nature of the observed phenomena is particularly intriguing. Unlike random or chaotic events, the chronicler consistently describes organized, purposeful activity that suggested intelligence or control. This pattern of organized aerial activity, occurring over an extended period and across a wide geographical area, challenges simple explanations based on misidentification of natural phenomena or mass hysteria. The chronicler's attempts to measure and quantify his observations represent an early application of scientific methodology to anomalous phenomena. His use of reference points for estimating speed and altitude, his careful recording of times and dates, and his systematic documentation of patterns and behaviors demonstrate a proto-scientific approach that was remarkably advanced for its era. This methodical approach lends additional credibility to his account and suggests that he was genuinely attempting to create an accurate historical record. The social and cultural context of the manuscript provides additional layers of meaning. The mid-16th century was a period of tremendous upheaval in Europe, marked by religious reformation, political instability, and rapid technological advancement. The chronicler's rational approach to extraordinary phenomena reflects the emerging humanistic and scientific thinking that would eventually transform European intellectual life. His willingness to question traditional explanations and seek natural rather than supernatural causes demonstrates the beginning of a new approach to understanding the world. The discovery of this manuscript has prompted renewed interest in other historical accounts of unusual aerial phenomena. Researchers have begun examining medieval and Renaissance chronicles with fresh eyes, looking for similar descriptions that might have been previously dismissed as fantasy or allegory. Several promising accounts have already been identified, suggesting that the Basel Chronicle might be part of a larger pattern of historical documentation that has been overlooked or misunderstood. The implications of taking such historical accounts seriously are profound. If the Basel chronicler and others like him were documenting real phenomena, it suggests that unusual aerial activity has been occurring for far longer than commonly supposed. This possibility challenges assumptions about the modern origins of UFO sightings and raises questions about the nature and consistency of such phenomena across historical periods. The manuscript also provides valuable insights into how pre-modern societies attempted to understand and cope with phenomena that fell outside their existing frameworks of knowledge. The chronicler's methodical approach, his consultation with other scholars, and his systematic documentation efforts demonstrate that medieval and Renaissance scholars were capable of sophisticated observational science when confronted with truly mysterious phenomena. The preservation of this manuscript through centuries of political upheaval, religious conflict, and social transformation represents a minor miracle in itself. The fact that it survived in readable condition suggests that it was considered valuable enough to preserve carefully, perhaps by a succession of scholars or institutions who recognized its potential importance. The discovery raises questions about what other significant historical documents might remain hidden in archives and private collections around the world. The Basel Chronicle stands as a testament to the power of careful observation and systematic documentation. Regardless of how one interprets the phenomena it describes, the manuscript represents a serious attempt by an intelligent observer to record and understand extraordinary events. The chronicler's combination of detailed observation, rational analysis, and honest acknowledgement of the limits of his understanding provides a model for approaching anomalous phenomena that remains relevant today. The document's emphasis on the interconnected nature of the observed phenomena suggests that the chronicler recognized patterns and relationships that extended beyond simple, isolated incidents. His references to similar events in other locations and time periods indicate an early understanding that such phenomena might be part of larger, more complex systems or cycles. This systems-thinking approach was remarkably advanced for its historical period and demonstrates the chronicler's sophisticated analytical capabilities. As scholars continue to study and analyze this remarkable document, new questions and possibilities continue to emerge. The Basel Chronicle represents not just a historical curiosity, but a serious challenge to our understanding of both historical documentation and the nature of anomalous phenomena. Whether one views the described events as misidentified natural phenomena, early encounters with advanced technology, or something else entirely, the manuscript demands serious consideration and careful analysis. The chronicler's final hope that future generations might better understand the phenomena he witnessed has proven prescient. Modern scientific instruments and expanded knowledge provide tools for analysis that were unavailable in the 16th century. However, the fundamental questions raised by the Basel Chronicle remain as challenging today as they were nearly 5 centuries ago. The manuscript serves as a bridge between historical mystery and contemporary investigation, offering a unique window into how intelligent observers have struggled to understand the extraordinary throughout human history. The discovery of the Basel Chronicle reminds us that the past continues to hold surprises and that historical documents can challenge our assumptions about what previous generations knew and experienced. As we continue to grapple with questions about anomalous phenomena and our place in a larger cosmic context, the careful observations and thoughtful analysis of a 16th century chronicler provide both historical perspective and ongoing inspiration for the pursuit of understanding in the face of mystery. 09 to 45. The manuscript discovery has also prompted a careful re-examination of the political and social climate of Basel in 1566, revealing fascinating correlations between the documented aerial phenomena and significant historical events occurring simultaneously. The chronicler's account takes on additional depth when viewed against the backdrop of the ongoing religious upheavals following the Protestant Reformation, the expansion of trade networks that connected Europe to distant continents, and the early stirrings of what would later be called the Scientific Revolution. Basel in 1566 was a city at the crossroads of change. As a major center of printing and publishing, it served as a hub for the dissemination of new ideas across Europe. The city's universities attracted scholars from across the continent, creating an environment where traditional knowledge was constantly being questioned and refined. This intellectual ferment may have contributed to the chronicler's remarkably systematic approach to documenting phenomena that defied conventional explanation. The manuscript reveals that the chronicler was not working in isolation, but was part of a loose network of observers and correspondents who shared information about unusual sightings across Central Europe. References throughout the document indicate regular correspondence with scholars in Strasbourg, Frankfurt, and Vienna, suggesting a coordinated effort to track and analyze the mysterious aerial activity. This early scientific network represents one of the first documented attempts at collaborative investigation of anomalous phenomena. Letters preserved alongside the main chronicle provide glimpses into these scholarly exchanges. One particularly illuminating correspondence, dated September 3rd, 1566, comes from a colleague identified only as Master Wilhelm of Nuremberg, who writes, "The celestial dancers have visited our city as well, performing their mysterious ballet across our skies for 3 consecutive nights. Their movements follow patterns that suggest both purpose and intelligence, though their ultimate design remains hidden from our understanding." These supporting documents reveal that the phenomena were being observed and recorded by multiple independent witnesses across a vast geographical area. The consistency of descriptions across different locations and observers strengthens the case for treating these accounts as serious historical documentation rather than isolated cases of misperception or fantasy. The collaborative nature of the investigation also demonstrates that 16th century scholars possessed sophisticated networks for sharing and verifying information. The chronicler's background, partially reconstructed from various clues within the manuscript, adds another layer of credibility to his account. References to his education suggest training in both natural philosophy and mathematics, while his familiarity with classical texts indicates access to one of the major libraries of the period. His writing style and vocabulary mark him as someone accustomed to producing formal scholarly works, and his careful attention to detail throughout the manuscript reflects the habits of an experienced researcher. The economic implications of the aerial phenomena, as recorded in the Chronicle, provide an unexpected window into how extraordinary events affected daily life in the 16th century. The chronicler notes that during the height of the sightings, normal commercial activity in Basel was significantly disrupted. Markets operated on reduced schedules as both merchants and customers spent increasing amounts of time observing the sky. Several guild meetings were postponed or moved to evening hours to accommodate members' desire to witness the aerial displays during daylight. Perhaps most significantly, the Chronicle documents the emergence of what might be considered the first organized sky watching groups in recorded European history. Citizens began forming informal associations dedicated to systematic observation of the phenomena, with different groups taking responsibility for monitoring specific sectors of the sky during designated time periods. These groups maintained detailed logs of sightings, which were then compiled and analyzed by the chronicler and his scholarly associates. The manuscript includes several pages of these compiled observations, presenting data in a format that remarkably anticipates modern scientific reporting standards. Sightings are recorded with precise times, weather conditions, duration of observation, number of objects observed, their apparent size and color, movement patterns, and the number of reliable witnesses present. This systematic approach to data collection represents a remarkable achievement for its historical period and demonstrates the serious scientific intent behind the investigation. The chronicler's analysis of this compiled data reveals patterns that were not immediately apparent from individual sightings. He notes, for example, that the phenomena appeared to follow regular schedules, with peak activity occurring during specific times of day and particular weather conditions. The objects seemed to prefer clear skies and calm winds, rarely appearing during storms or periods of atmospheric turbulence. These observations led the chronicler to theorize that the phenomena might be sensitive to atmospheric conditions in ways that suggested physical rather than supernatural origins. Temperature measurements, taken using primitive but carefully calibrated instruments, revealed another intriguing pattern. The chronicler noted that air temperature often dropped measurably during periods of intense aerial activity, sometimes by as much as 10 degrees within the span of an hour. This temperature correlation provided what he considered to be objective, quantifiable evidence that the phenomena were having real physical effects on the environment. The manuscript's most detailed technical analysis focuses on what the chronicler terms the geometry of celestial movement. Using techniques borrowed from contemporary astronomical observation, he attempted to plot the flight paths of mysterious objects and identify underlying mathematical principles that might govern their behavior. His diagrams show complex geometric patterns that the objects seem to follow, including precise formations that maintained consistent spacing and angular relationships even during rapid maneuvers. These geometric analyses led the chronicler to one of his most startling conclusions. The aerial phenomena appeared to be demonstrating advanced mathematical knowledge through their movement patterns. He identified several instances where the objects formed configurations that corresponded to recently discovered geometric principles, including arrangements that anticipated mathematical concepts that would not be formally described by European scholars for several more decades. The implications of this conclusion were not lost on the chronicler, who writes, "If these celestial visitors possess knowledge of mathematical principles unknown to our greatest scholars, we must consider the possibility that intelligence exists in forms far exceeding our current understanding." This observation represents one of the earliest recorded suggestions that anomalous phenomena might be associated with superior intelligence or advanced knowledge systems. The Chronicle's documentation of attempts at communication with the aerial phenomena provides another fascinating dimension to the account. Several citizens claim to have attempted various forms of signaling to the objects, using everything from large fires and polished metal mirrors to coordinated movements of groups of people in open fields. While most of these attempts produced no apparent response, the chronicler records 3 instances where the objects seem to react to human signals. The most detailed of these accounts describes an event on August 19, 1566, when a group of university students arranged themselves in a large circle in an open field outside Basel and began moving in a coordinated pattern while formation of spherical objects passed overhead. According to multiple witnesses, the aerial objects suddenly altered their course and began moving in a circular pattern that mirrored the students' movements below. This synchronized behavior continued for several minutes before the objects resumed their original trajectory and disappeared beyond the horizon. The chronicler treats this account with appropriate scientific skepticism, noting the possibility of coincidence and the difficulty of determining causation in such unusual circumstances. However, he also acknowledges that the timing and precision of the object's response suggested something more than random chance. His careful analysis of witness testimony and his attempts to verify details through multiple sources demonstrate the application of rigorous investigative methods to extraordinary claims. Religious interpretations of the phenomena, as recorded in the Chronicle, reveal the complex theological debates that the sightings generated within Basel's scholarly and clerical communities. While some church authorities initially attempted to frame the events as divine omens or demonic manifestations, the systematic nature of the observations and the rational approach taken by scholarly investigators gradually shifted the discourse toward natural rather than supernatural explanations. The chronicler records several theological debates that took place during the period of the sightings, including formal disputations held at the university where scholars argued various interpretations of the phenomena. These debates reveal the tension between traditional religious explanations for unusual events and the emerging empirical approach that would eventually characterize modern scientific investigation. The chronicler's own position appears to favor natural explanations while acknowledging the limitations of current knowledge in explaining such extraordinary observations. The manuscript includes detailed accounts of the psychological effects of the phenomena on the population of Basel. The chronicler notes that while initial reactions included fear and anxiety, prolonged exposure to the sightings gradually produced a different response. Citizens began to view the aerial displays as a source of wonder rather than terror, with many reporting that witnessing the phenomena produced feelings of awe and expanded perspective on humanity's place in the larger cosmos. These psychological observations are particularly significant because they document early examples of what modern researchers would recognize as transformative encounters with anomalous phenomena. The chronicler describes how many witnesses reported lasting changes in their worldview and priorities following their observations of the aerial events. Some citizens became more interested in scholarly pursuits, others in artistic expression, and still others in contemplation of philosophical questions about the nature of existence and consciousness. The Chronicle's account of official governmental response to the phenomena reveals the pragmatic concerns of civic authorities faced with unprecedented events. Rather than attempting to suppress reports or dismiss the sightings as mass delusion, Basel's city council apparently took a remarkably progressive approach. They organized official observation teams, allocated resources for systematic documentation, and even sent envoys to other cities to gather comparative information about similar sightings. This official response included the establishment of what might be considered the first governmental committee for the investigation of anomalous phenomena in European history. The committee, composed of representatives from the university, the guilds, and the city council, was charged with collecting and analyzing all available information about the aerial sightings and developing recommendations for how the city should respond to any future occurrences. The committee's final report, excerpted in the Chronicle, presents conclusions that are remarkable for their balanced and thoughtful approach. Rather than dismissing the phenomena or attributing them to supernatural causes, the report acknowledges that the sightings represent genuine mysteries that exceed current understanding while recommending continued observation and documentation. The report also includes practical recommendations for maintaining civic order and commerce during periods of unusual aerial activity. Economic records from the period, referenced in the Chronicle, provide concrete evidence of the phenomena's impact on Basel's commercial life. Trade decreased measurably during the peak period of sightings, not due to fear or panic, but because both merchants and customers were more interested in sky watching than commerce. Some enterprising individuals reportedly profited by selling improved viewing positions on tall buildings or providing refreshments to crowds gathered in observation areas. The Chronicle also documents the emergence of what appears to be the first commercial enterprises specifically created to capitalize on public interest in anomalous phenomena. Craftsmen began producing specialized viewing instruments. Artists created illustrations and pamphlets depicting the aerial objects, and entrepreneurs organized guided tours to locations where sightings were most frequent. This commercialization of mystery represents an early example of how human societies adapt economically to extraordinary circumstances. The manuscript's detailed weather observations during the period of the sightings provide valuable data for modern atmospheric scientists studying historical climate patterns. The chronicler's meticulous recording of barometric pressure, wind direction, temperature, and humidity levels during each major sighting creates a comprehensive meteorological dataset that spans several months. Analysis of this data reveals no obvious correlations between normal weather patterns and the occurrence of aerial phenomena, leading the chronicler to conclude that conventional atmospheric conditions were not the primary determining factor for when sightings occurred. The chronicle's documentation of animal behavior during the sightings adds another dimension to the observational record. The chronicler notes that domestic animals consistently displayed unusual behavior during periods of intense aerial activity. Dogs frequently howled in harmony, cats gathered in groups and stared fixedly at the sky, and horses became restless and difficult to control. Wild birds were observed flying in unusual formations or remaining completely silent during normally active periods. These animal behavior observations led the chronicler to speculate about sensory capabilities that humans might lack. He theorizes that animals might be detecting aspects of the phenomena that remain invisible or inaudible to human observers, suggesting that the full nature of the aerial events might be far more complex than even the most detailed human observations revealed. This early recognition of the potential limitations of human sensory perception in investigating anomalous phenomena demonstrates remarkable scientific sophistication. The manuscript's final sections contain the chronicler's attempt to synthesize all his observations into a coherent theoretical framework. Drawing on contemporary knowledge of astronomy, natural philosophy, and mathematics, he develops what amounts to an early scientific hypothesis about the nature and origins of the phenomena he witnessed. His theory suggests that the Earth exists within a complex system of what he terms celestial influences that occasionally become directly observable to terrestrial creatures. This theoretical framework anticipates several concepts that would not be formally developed in European science for centuries. The chronicler's suggestion that the Earth might be subject to influences from other celestial bodies or systems bears striking resemblances to modern ideas about cosmic radiation, solar wind, and other forms of interplanetary interaction. His proposal that intelligence might exist in forms radically different from human consciousness anticipates contemporary discussions about artificial intelligence and non-terrestrial life. The Chronicle concludes with a series of predictions about when similar phenomena might reoccur, based on the chronicler's analysis of historical patterns and cyclical behaviors observed during the Basel events. He suggests that such sightings might follow regular intervals related to astronomical cycles, though he acknowledges that his limited data makes precise prediction impossible. These predictions, remarkably, align with several documented periods of increased UFO activity in European history during subsequent centuries. The preservation and recent discovery of this manuscript raise important questions about how many similar historical documents might remain hidden or misclassified in archives around the world. The chronicler's sophisticated observational methods and scientific approach suggest that other scholars of his era might have produced equally detailed accounts of anomalous phenomena. The systematic search for such documents could significantly expand our understanding of the historical dimensions of unexplained aerial activity. Modern forensic analysis of the manuscript continues to yield new insights about its composition and authenticity. Spectroscopic analysis of the ink reveals compositions consistent with 16th century formulations, while microscopic examination of the parchment confirms its age and origin. Most significantly, the writing exhibits subtle characteristics that are extremely difficult to forge, including pressure patterns and stroke sequences that reflect the natural hand movements of someone writing with period instruments. The collaborative nature of the investigation documented in the Chronicle provides a model for how anomalous phenomena might be studied most effectively. The chronicler's network of correspondence, systematic data collection, and interdisciplinary approach demonstrate that meaningful investigation of extraordinary events requires coordination among multiple observers and diverse areas of expertise. This historical example suggests that modern investigations of similar phenomena might benefit from adopting similarly collaborative and systematic approaches. The Basel Chronicle ultimately stands as a testament to the power of careful observation, systematic documentation, and intellectual courage in the face of phenomena that challenge conventional understanding. The unknown chronicler's dedication to accuracy, his willingness to acknowledge the limitations of his knowledge, and his hope that future generations might solve the mysteries he encountered provide inspiration for continued investigation of the extraordinary. His work reminds us that the pursuit of truth in the face of mystery is a fundamental human endeavor that transcends historical periods and cultural boundaries. The implications of this remarkable document extend far beyond its immediate historical context, challenging assumptions about the nature of anomalous phenomena, the capabilities of pre-modern observers, and the continuity of human encounters with the unexplained across centuries. As researchers continue to study and analyze the Basel Chronicle, It promises to remain a source of insight and inspiration for anyone seeking to understand the enduring mysteries that continue to appear in our skies. Point 10 to 02. The manuscript's influence extends far beyond its immediate historical context. As modern researchers have begun to recognize striking parallels between the chronicler's 16th century observations and contemporary reports of unidentified aerial phenomena. The systematic approach employed by the Basel investigator has inspired the development of new protocols for documenting anomalous sightings, while his emphasis on collaborative research has led to the establishment of international networks dedicated to studying unexplained aerial activity across historical periods. Recent interdisciplinary conferences have brought together historians, atmospheric scientists, aerospace engineers, and researchers specializing in anomalous phenomena to analyze the Basel Chronicle and similar historical documents. These gatherings have revealed that the chronicler's observational methods were remarkably advanced for their time, incorporating techniques that parallel modern scientific investigation protocols. The precision of his measurements, the systematic nature of his data collection, and his careful attention to environmental variables demonstrate a level of methodological sophistication that rivals contemporary research standards. The Chronicle's detailed descriptions have proven particularly valuable to researchers studying the evolution of aerial phenomena over extended historical periods. By comparing the Basel observations with modern UFO reports, investigators have identified consistent patterns in object behavior, formation flying, and environmental effects that suggest continuity in whatever underlying causes produce such phenomena. The geometric flight patterns documented by the 16th century chronicler, for example, match formations observed and recorded by military radar operators and civilian witnesses in the modern era. Archaeological investigations of locations mentioned in the Chronicle have yielded unexpected discoveries that corroborate certain aspects of the historical account. Excavations in the fields outside Basel, where major sightings were reported, have revealed unusual soil compositions and magnetic anomalies that differ significantly from surrounding areas. These physical traces, while not definitively linked to the events described in the manuscript, provide tantalizing evidence that something extraordinary may have occurred at these specific locations during the historical period in question. Advanced imaging techniques applied to the original manuscript have revealed previously invisible details that enhance our understanding of the chronicler's methods and observations. Infrared photography has uncovered marginal notes and corrections that were invisible to the naked eye, while ultraviolet examination has revealed preliminary sketches beneath the finished illustrations. These hidden elements provide insights into the chronicler's thought processes and suggest that his final account represented a carefully refined analysis rather than immediate impressions. The discovery of related documents in other European archives has gradually reconstructed a broader picture of the network of scholars who investigated these phenomena across Central Europe in the 16th century. Letters, reports, and fragmentary chronicles from libraries in Prague, Krakow, and Florence reveal that the Basel chronicler was part of a surprisingly extensive research community dedicated to studying what they term celestial mysteries. This collaborative investigation appears to have continued for several decades after the initial Basel sightings, suggesting a sustained scientific effort that has been largely overlooked by traditional historical scholarship. Modern translation projects have made the Chronicle's technical observations accessible to contemporary scientists and engineers who lack classical language training. These translations have revealed that the chronicler's descriptions of object propulsion systems, energy emissions, and flight characteristics contain details that anticipate several concepts in advanced aerospace engineering. His observations about silent propulsion, instantaneous acceleration, and apparent gravity-defying maneuvers parallel descriptions found in classified military reports from the modern era. Computer modeling based on the chronicler's detailed measurements and trajectory descriptions has produced three-dimensional reconstructions of the aerial phenomena that provide new insights into their possible nature and origins. These models suggest that the objects observed over Basel were operating according to flight principles that differ fundamentally from conventional aerodynamics. The consistent maintenance of formation spacing during complex maneuvers, for example, implies coordination mechanisms that exceed the capabilities of any known 16th century or modern technology. The Chronicle's emphasis on environmental effects has prompted new lines of research into the physical signatures that might be left by anomalous aerial phenomena. Scientists studying electromagnetic anomalies, atmospheric disturbances, and biological effects have found that many of the environmental changes documented by the Basel chronicler match patterns observed in connection with modern UFO sightings. These correlations suggest that whatever causes such phenomena has remained consistent across centuries, producing similar observable effects regardless of the technological sophistication of the witnesses. Statistical analysis of the sighting patterns documented in the Chronicle has revealed mathematical relationships that were not apparent to the original investigators. Modern data analysis techniques applied to the chronicler's carefully recorded times, locations, and frequencies of sightings have identified cyclical patterns that correlate with astronomical events, solar activity, and geomagnetic variations. These correlations suggest that the phenomena might be influenced by natural cosmic cycles in ways that the 16th century observers could not have detected with available instruments. The psychological dimensions of the Basel events, as documented in the Chronicle, have attracted attention from researchers studying the human response to extraordinary experiences. The chronicler's detailed observations of how prolonged exposure to anomalous phenomena affected the consciousness and behavior of witnesses provide valuable data for understanding the transformative potential of such encounters. Modern psychological assessments of individuals who have experienced similar phenomena reveal patterns that closely match those described in the 16th century account. Educational institutions across Europe have incorporated the Basel Chronicle into curricula exploring the history of scientific investigation and the role of anomalous phenomena in stimulating intellectual development. The chronicler's methodological approach serves as an excellent example of how systematic observation and careful documentation can advance understanding even when dealing with subjects that fall outside established knowledge frameworks. His work demonstrates that scientific progress often requires the courage to investigate phenomena that challenge conventional assumptions. The manuscript's influence on contemporary art and literature has been equally profound, inspiring creative works that explore themes of historical mystery, scientific investigation, and humanity's place in a larger cosmic context. Artists have drawn inspiration from the chronicler's detailed sketches, while writers have found in his account a compelling narrative that bridges historical documentation and speculative fiction. These creative interpretations have helped bring the chronicle's insights to broader public attention. International efforts to locate additional historical documents relating to anomalous aerial phenomena have been energized by the Basel discovery. Teams of researchers are systematically examining archives and private collections across Europe, searching for similar accounts that might have been dismissed or misclassified by previous generations of scholars. These investigations have already yielded several promising discoveries, suggesting that the Basel Chronicle may be part of a much larger body of historical documentation awaiting rediscovery. The collaborative research networks inspired by the chronicler's example have evolved into formal international organizations dedicated to the systematic study of historical and contemporary anomalous phenomena. These groups employ rigorous scientific methodologies while maintaining the open-minded approach that characterized the 16th century Basel investigation. Their work has contributed to a growing recognition that serious scientific attention to unexplained phenomena can yield valuable insights regardless of whether ultimate explanations prove conventional or extraordinary. Modern sensor technologies have been deployed at locations mentioned in the Chronicle to monitor for any continuing unusual activity. While no dramatic aerial phenomena have been detected, sensitive instruments have recorded subtle electromagnetic variations and atmospheric anomalies that differ from normal background levels. These readings, while inconclusive, suggest that some locations mentioned in the historical account may retain measurable signatures of whatever events occurred there centuries ago. The Chronicle's documentation of citizen science initiatives has provided inspiration for modern crowdsourcing approaches to anomalous phenomena research. The 16th century sky watching groups, organized by Basel citizens, serve as early examples of how ordinary people can contribute meaningfully to scientific investigation when provided with appropriate guidance and coordination. Contemporary research projects have adopted similar approaches, training volunteer observers to collect standardized data about unusual aerial activity. Theoretical physicists studying the Chronicle have found that the chronicler's descriptions of impossible flight characteristics may not be as impossible as they initially appeared. Recent developments in our understanding of advanced propulsion concepts, field manipulation, and exotic matter states suggest that some of the phenomena described in the Basel account could potentially be explained by physics that exceeds current technological capabilities but does not violate fundamental natural laws. The manuscript's preservation through centuries of political upheaval, religious conflict, and social transformation has prompted new efforts to protect similar historical documents that might contain valuable information about unexplained phenomena. Digital preservation projects are creating permanent archives of such materials, while conservation specialists are developing improved techniques for maintaining the physical integrity of ancient texts. These efforts recognize that historical documents, like the Basel Chronicle, represent irreplaceable resources for understanding the long-term patterns of human encounters with anomalous phenomena. The chronicler's emphasis on the importance of maintaining detailed records for future investigators has proven remarkably prescient. His careful documentation has enabled modern researchers to apply analytical techniques that were unimaginable in the 16th century, extracting new insights from observations made nearly 5 centuries ago. This success demonstrates the enduring value of systematic data collection and suggests that contemporary investigation efforts should prioritize comprehensive documentation over immediate explanation. The international attention focused on the Basel Chronicle has led to increased funding for historical research projects that might uncover additional evidence of anomalous phenomena in past eras. These investigations are revealing that unexplained aerial activity has been reported consistently throughout recorded history, suggesting that such phenomena represent a persistent aspect of human experience rather than a modern development. The recognition of this historical continuity has significant implications for how such phenomena should be studied and understood. The Chronicle's detailed weather observations have proven valuable for climatologists studying historical climate patterns and their potential relationship to anomalous phenomena. The chronicler's careful recording of atmospheric conditions during sightings has contributed to databases used by researchers investigating possible connections between environmental factors and unexplained aerial activity. These studies have identified correlations that suggest certain atmospheric conditions may facilitate the occurrence or observation of such phenomena. Modern military and aviation authorities have shown considerable interest in the Chronicle's technical observations, particularly the descriptions of flight capabilities that exceed those of any known aircraft. The documented ability of the observed objects to perform instantaneous directional changes, hover silently, and accelerate to extreme speeds without producing sonic booms represents technologies that would revolutionize aerospace engineering if they could be understood and replicated. This technological interest has led to classified research projects that attempt to analyze the Chronicle's technical content for potential applications. The manuscript's philosophical implications have attracted attention from scholars studying the relationship between extraordinary experiences and the development of human consciousness. The chronicler's detailed observations of how witnessing unexplained phenomena affected the worldviews and priorities of Basel citizens provide valuable data for understanding the transformative potential of encounters with mystery. These insights have contributed to growing recognition that anomalous phenomena may play important roles in stimulating intellectual and spiritual development. The Basel Chronicle continues to challenge conventional boundaries between historical scholarship, scientific investigation, and speculative inquiry. Its existence demonstrates that past eras produced sophisticated observers capable of systematic investigation and careful documentation of phenomena that exceeded their explanatory frameworks. The chronicler's work serves as a bridge between historical mystery and contemporary research, offering both specific data for analysis and inspiring examples of intellectual courage in the face of the unknown. The ongoing study of this remarkable document promises to yield additional insights as new analytical techniques are developed and applied to its contents. Each generation of researchers brings fresh perspectives and improved tools to the investigation, gradually extracting more information from the chronicler's careful observations. This progressive revelation of meaning demonstrates that historical documents like the Basel Chronicle represent living resources that continue to contribute to human understanding across centuries. The legacy of the unknown chronicler extends beyond a specific phenomena he documented to encompass broader questions about the nature of scientific investigation, the value of systematic observation, and the importance of maintaining open minds when confronting the extraordinary. His work reminds us that the pursuit of truth requires both rigorous methodology and intellectual humility, acknowledging the limitations of current knowledge while remaining committed to expanding the boundaries of understanding. In an age when rapid technological advancement sometimes obscures the enduring mysteries that surround human existence, the Basel Chronicle serves as a powerful reminder that wonder and careful investigation can coexist productively in the quest for knowledge about our place in a universe that continues to surprise and challenge our assumptions. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.